In today's tutorial, let's learn how to do the woven plaid blanket, another free pattern available by yarnspirations.com. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the woven plaid blanket. This is a really simple idea and we're going to be making some mesh work, and then we're going to be using some yarn strands in order to weave through to create a plaid looking project. It's actually really quite neat in order to do. Today's yarn is asking for Caring United, but if you cannot find this in a store near you or you cannot order it online, you can also substitute with Bernat Super Value yarn in order to make this work. Just realize that the Caring United yarn balls are not as big as the Bernat Super Value, so you will not need as many balls, and I will provide that information on my website if you'd like to see what the conversion is in order for making this in Super Value instead. So let me tell you a little bit more about this patterning and how it's going to work for today. So today's patterning is all about making the mesh, and the mesh is actually what is holding all of the yarn strands that are coming down through. And the mesh is made up of double crochets slash chain one, and the double crochets are just sitting on top of each other to create a mesh like a window screen really, in order to keep it all in balance. So because they're all stacked up on top of each other, all of the gapping spaces will align with each other to make the spacing perfect and make sure that you can have this woven effect as it's going all the way through. But let me tell you a little bit more about this in order to follow these set of instructions really quite easily. So in the patterning we have to do the amount of rows in order to keep the effect looking plaid. So what I've done here is on the instructions it asks us to do some repeat patterning. Okay, so we're going to start off with, and I'm going to provide this information on my website if you wish, thecrochetcrowd.com, and essentially the patterning is a repeating of rows number 3 all the way to 14, and we have to repeat that 8 times. So what I decided to do for myself is that I created this chart, so whenever I get something done I can just check mark, check mark, check mark all the way down for the repeat number 1, repeat number 2. So the first time we have to run through all this on its own, and then we have to repeat 8 times, and I have boxes here in order to check it. So you can see here's what the color orientation is. So it starts off with cherry, cherry, dark green, cherry, cherry, white, white, fresh green, green, white, fresh green, cherry, cherry. So when we go to end on 14 we're gonna come right back to number 3 again and start once again. Do you notice how we started off with cherry up here? And because we started off with cherry, when we get to the final one of the repeat 8 we're gonna finish off with cherry on the other side, so you end up with a really nice looking and balanced Afghan when you see it all done like so. Okay, so let's begin to do some of the mesh work, and I'll show you how to do the strands coming through and create these fringing, because the fringing is done at the same time of the strands as well. So while we're on the patterning, all these strands that are coming through, there's actually an order on how they're coming through. So if you look at the weaving diagram just like this, so in the first space you'll start off with these colors just like you see it within the diagram. Okay, so these are all the strands that are coming through, and you just have to follow and just check them off as you do it. Once you start seeing the repeat patterning that you can see here, it becomes really quite easy in order to do. You may spend a bit of time doing all the strands through, but this is a plaid look and this is what it takes in order to get the look as well. So let's start this patterning, and I'm going to use Bernat Super Value size H 5mm crochet hook today. And let's put this on the hook. So if the patterning calls for 165 chains, but if you'd like to change the size of this, it's very easy to do. Just know if you change the width you're going to change the patterning of the striping, so just be very conscientious of that. So if you would like to change the size and come up with your own concepts for the plaiding look, just keep it at an odd size. So for example it's 165 for your chains, so you can do like 157, you can do 145, as long as it's an odd number. So I'm going to do 17 today. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, and 17. So there we go. So there is my odd number chain. You will have 165 if you are following the patterning just like it suggests. To start the first row we're going to go 5th chain from the hook. So we have that chain, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. turn that chain over and get the back hump only, and I want you to double crochet into that 5th chain. So in the rules of crochet, what's gonna happen is that chaining of 3 counted as a half double, sorry, as a double crochet, and then we have a chain 1. So that's where all of this is coming into effect. So we're creating the mesh on the outside. So to go to the next one, we chain 1, skip the next chain, and go to the second one over for another double crochet, and we're gonna do the entire chain like that. So chain 1, skip the next chain, and then double crochet into the next one. So I want you to do that all the way across, and I'll show you how to turn around and do the next row. And all of these rows are identical to each other. It's just a matter of changing the color strategically as it suggests in the pattern, and it's really quite an easy pattern to work on, and it will go fast because you're just putting all these mesh kind of stitches in. So you'll come up to the very last one here and double crochet. So let me show you how to turn around and make sure that the mesh stays on top of each other. So in row number 2 we want to come around and we want to just turn our work, and we're going to chain up again. So we're going to this time chain up 4. So this counts as a double crochet and a chain 1. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to half double crochet right, or sorry, we're going to double crochet right in the top of the other double crochet, followed by a chain 1. And then we double crochet right into the next double crochet, followed by a chain 1. Okay, double crochet into the next one, followed by a chain 1, double crochet in the next one, chain 1, double crochet in the next one, and you're gonna do that all the way across. That's how easy this patterning is. When you come up to the edge, remember that you do have 4 chains here, so you're gonna chain 1. You wanna come up to the 3rd one. So 1, 2, 3. You gotta make sure you have this extra one left over because that is considered your chain 1. Okay, so when you turn your work, it's just like what you did, and all of these double crochets should sit on top of each other. When I come back, I'm gonna show you how to change colors, and I'll show you how to do that next. So whenever you have to change a color, what I would recommend is cut your yarn just like so, and just yarn over and pull through. And I like to fasten off completely when I'm doing projects like this, and I want to use this yarn, and I'm just going to weave it through some of the stitch work that is existing already. Because it is green and this color and the straggler is green, if you weave it in the green, it's gonna be very hard to tell to see where it is the next time you're going over. So I want you to turn your work, and let's get your next color. I'm going to switch to blue, and I'm going to start off with the slip knot. It's just my personal preference, and I want to come into the top of the first double crochet, and I want to just join it. So I'm just gonna join it just with the one strand only. So I just pulled through, and then I'm gonna use both strands, and I'm going to chain 2. So 1 and 2 with both strands, and then the next 2 I want to keep just the one strand, 1 and 2. You see, I've been crocheting so long that I've almost got that down to a science. So then I'm just going to do exactly what I've already done before. I'm going to double crochet in the next double crochet, and because you weaved in your other color in there, it's gonna get stuck underneath, so it's great. So chain 1 and double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1. Okay, and that's all you have to do for the mesh to create it. So I've gotten back to where the stragglers that I weaved in, I can throw it in behind. I can safely cut that afterwards, and I'm not gonna be worried about that falling out on me. So I just keep on going to the end. Remember, it's how you finish the end which makes the world of difference. So chain 1, there's 4 chains here. Make sure you come to the 3rd one. There should be a chain 1 that you don't touch. And I'm going to turn my work and show you one more time. So turn your work, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, come into the first double crochet, chain 1, next one. So I'm going to then show you how to do the strands next. So you're gonna do the whole project, just follow the color schemes that it's asking you to do for going in the horizontal direction that you're doing right now, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the strand work right after this. So just when you get to the end, make sure you skip over, go to that 3rd one only, and I'm going to fasten off. So once you're done completely, Just gonna trim my yarn and I'm just gonna weave in the ends. So we did a plaid tad Bernat blanket where there is no fringe, but this one does have fringe, and because of that it has a little bit of a different look, and I think it's kind of nicer in my opinion, but it's up to you. You are the creator. You can do what you like for yourself. So I've just weaved that in. See, this was already weaved in from my last one. So you can trim that, and then of course you can trim that one that you just finished off as well. And let's begin to do the strand work next. So we're now ready to apply the strands. So you're gonna have the whole thing all crocheted up, and now it's time to put the strands through. So going on page number 2 of the instructions, you'll see here is the instructions as the strands coming down is if you were to do it. Okay, so what I'm gonna show you next is how to make these strands. This will be a little bit labor intensive, I'm not gonna lie to you, just to getting prepped, and it's up to you in order to make this really work, but it's really not hard. It's just a matter of just a little bit of time. So we're gonna be cutting lengths of 96 inches. Okay, and it says take 3 strands together and then thread them onto a darning needle to begin the lower edge. If you don't have a darning needle, it's not a big deal in this particular case. So what you're gonna do, and what I would do, is that you're going to take 3 strands at one time. So if you have extra balls of the same color, you can just grab all 3 and just measure out 96 inches and then just cut it. So then you have 3 done at the same time. So I would do something like that. Okay, so in this case, because it is a tutorial, I'm going to just kind of wing it. So once I get one done, what I technically do is that I would just grab the one that's already cut and I will feed it from the yarn ball, and I will keep pulling until both strands are the same. So the more yarn balls you have for this, the more strands you can pull through, just like this, and you want a total of 3 strands each in order to go down. Some people like to chain instead of just using strands. That's up to you. So let's begin the next part of the tutorial. So you'll want to go basically from one side to another. Just make sure you have the right amount of chain spaces if you're following the diagram as what it says. And you're just gonna start up and you're just gonna come through and just taking all 3 strands. You don't need a darning needle with this. You can use it if you wish, but you can use your fingers and just go in and out of the gapping spaces. Okay, and just keep on going. Sometimes they use a big Tunisian needle as well, and I keep going, and you go all the way down through. And what you want to do is that when you go to do this, you don't want to do it so that the Afghan is starting to bunch like this. You want to keep it nice and consistent. You'll see it's just kind of floating in there. And then basically the next one, what we're going to do is that when we do the next one, we want to maintain and come up from the other side. So let's just say, for example, you're doing the next one, you want to make sure that it's opposite to each other. Okay, so the next one, it'll be like so. Okay, and this will gives you the plaid look if you go opposite. Okay, you're going to use a different string. I'm just showing it this way just to prove it to you at this point. Okay, so you can see that the strands look like they're being woven in just like that. So you just got to be conscientious on where you're starting. So you want to leave about a 9-inch space on one side of your Afghan and to the other, and so you're gonna work all the way down. You're gonna get them all into position. You'll have your ups and downs in order to have the woven effect. So now it's time to secure these permanently into position. So what you're gonna need is the same color strands that these are. So if you have a different color in the next one, you'll need a different color strand. So we're gonna be using white. So you have to use 3 strands of 18-inch lengths. Okay, and you want to fold that in half just like that. So you're going to come into the very end like so, and you're going to fasten it around. So go right into the corner or go right into the space and pull through, but stop. What I want you to do is with this new loop like so, I want you to not only grab the yarn that is part of that strand, but I want you to grab the 3 that are part of the woven effect, and I want you to put it right through this loop like so. Be gentle about it, and this is going to lock that strand going across and the fringe together as if it's one. So it looks like that the fringe is actually part of it, which it is in some way. So let me review again. So here's the other side. So I want to grab another group of 18 inches. So there's 3 strands there, and I want to use my darning needle, or sorry, my crochet hook, and pull through. Okay, just pull the loop, and I want you to put that strand through that, and I want you to grab the 3 that are part of the woven side, and I want you to pull it all through that new loop. Oh, I've got to make sure I stay to the outside on this, and so that will keep the strands relatively snug with each other as it's going all the way across. Plus you'll have some really awesome effects when it comes to doing all your fringe work, just like so. So that would be how you do it. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the crochetcrowd.com as well as Yarn Inspirations. This is how you would do it all the way across. Just use the same techniques and you can have this Afghan if you wish. Until next time, it's Mikey on behalf of Yarn Inspirations. We'll see you. Bye bye.